Hello, welcome to a new episode of Motorthoughts. I'm James Drujon, and today we're looking at the 2015 Renault Megane 1.6 VVT Dynamic 5-door TomTom edition. So this is the third generation of Megane. Currently the fourth generation is out at the moment, and that came out in 2016. So this is one of the last Mark III Meganes you can actually buy. If you're looking for an affordable, slightly bigger than your average hatchback on the second-hand market, this could be the car for you, because second-hand, these cost anywhere between £2,500 to £4,700. So this third generation is a definite improvement in terms of the design compared to the second generation Megane. I don't know anyone that likes the second generation Megane. It's probably one of the ugliest cars ever made. The Mark III Megane came out in 2008, and in 2013, Renault did a facelift of the Mark III. So that included revised headlights that are a bit better looking than the standard Mark III Megane, revised bonnet, and a revised front end, as well as LEDs on the front, and a massive Renault badge. You know, just so people know, and it's a Renault. Yeah, it's pretty big. It's massive, well, it's like the size of my hand. I quite like the look of the rear of the Mark III Megane. It's neat, it's stylish, and I like the tail lights. I think overall it's a massive improvement on the Mark II, because that was just a disgusting rear end. You know, it just sort of dropped off. But this is better sculpted, it's a neater design, it looks a lot better. So this particular model comes with 16-inch alloy wheels, also comes in a bit of a monotonous grey colour. It's not the most inspiring colour, but it definitely makes this car look rather smart and, you know, grown up. It definitely looks grown up in this grey. Other colours are available, obviously, but if you are looking to buy a second-hand Renault, a lot of them come in quite boring colours. The colour's a bit like, if it was a building, it would be like a modern, boxy building on the Slough trading estate. It's not very exciting, but it's modern. It's a modern building on the Slough trading estate. Anyway, personally, I prefer the fourth generation Megane, which is out at the minute, to the third. I think it's the best looking Megane they've done. But the 2017 fourth generation of Megane would cost you anywhere between £7,000 and £12,000, so it might be out of your budget. Anyway, let's talk a bit more about it. So the seats are pretty comfy, but I've been told they're not ideal and they're not very supportive for long journeys. There is a toggle to push back at middle of your seat, but if you push back into it, it sort of goes back. So it doesn't really work. Inside the cabin though, it does feel like a more premium Renault. The materials aren't as good as maybe on a VW or an Audi or, you know, a German car. But the plastics here, they feel better than in my Clio. It's got a nice strip here of like sort of the grey plastic, well, the grey colour that the car's in, which looks quite neat. The steering wheel, it's not the nicest leather, but there's some stitching and it's got a nice grip to it. Yeah, it's a nice car. The only thing it's lacking are cup holders. It's got a little cup holder here. It's not really big enough to have a takeaway coffee, like unless it's a small coffee. Something I don't really like is how the TomTom, it's not really blended into the dash. It sticks out a bit, which always kind of annoys me. Got an armrest, which is very handy for long journeys. So you've got this little dial down here to help you navigate on the TomTom. And it's pretty good. I mean, it's not too complicated, it does the trick. Apparently it's a common trend with Renaults for this generation for the radio and the infotainment system to mess up. So bear that in mind. You've got all this lovely TomTom and this dial, but it might not actually work. So make sure it works if you're doing a test drive or if you're looking at some. Yeah, the infotainment system, it does have this funny setting where you can go and look at pictures of other Renaults. I find it a bit weird, like there's this one guy you can see, and it's just like there's a picture of a guy stored on your car. It's really weird. I don't know why it has it. I guess they're trying to sell you other Renaults, but I don't know. Definitely don't look through the photos when you're driving. I wouldn't recommend that. It wouldn't be safe. And you get a key, a card key, instead of a conventional key, which goes in the middle here. The main thing is it has keyless entry, so you can just have this in your wallet. You don't even have to put it in the slot to start the engine. As long as you're in the car with this card, it'll start. So that's quite a handy feature. So in the back, it might be a bit of a squeeze to have 3 people in there, but you could if you tried. Because of the roof slopes down, you don't have the best rear headroom for passengers. I'm just under 6 foot and there's about 2 inches off ceiling, which, you know, but yeah, it comes in on the side, so you could be banging along down a bumpy road, which wouldn't be too good, and you might lose a few brain cells if you've got a, you know, a speedy driver. You can get good, decent legroom in here. If the seat's pushed all the way back, it will go into your knees if you're normal and you have knees. So the drivers of his cars only had small people in the back, so you can't really say what it's like on long journeys and whether it's comfortable. But, you know, the only thing I would say is, yeah, I'm just about 180 and my knees are coming up higher than the bottom here, so it's not exactly ideal for circulation if you've got long legs like me. I don't have very long legs. So the boot. This Megane has 372 litres of boot storage, which isn't actually that much. My Golf has 380, which is a bit puzzling because, well, it looks bigger than my Golf. It's definitely wider and it goes back more, but it's not as deep. If you're looking for a Megane with a bit more boot storage, the estate version of this generation of Megane has about 520 litres of boot storage, so that might be a better Megane for you. So let's talk about the boring stuff first. It's in insurance group 17, so it's sort of in the middle. It has an annual tax of about £180. Obviously, insurance is going to cost more if you're a younger driver or you've got claims, but in the 17 isn't too much. It's sort of edging towards the more premium insurance range, but it is relatively cheap. So this is the 1.6 VVT petrol engine. There is a DCI 1.6 diesel engine that produces 130 horsepower. This does 108. That also has better fuel economy, being a diesel engine, and that also produces less CO2, but they both have a Euro 6 emissions rating, so they're both good, I believe, for ultra low emission zones, which is handy because they're starting to expand now in they're starting to expand ultra low emission zones in the UK, especially around London and Birmingham, so that's worth knowing. So the diesel engine does about 108 grams of CO2 per kilometre, and this does 150. So the DCI engine gets on with Greta Thunberg a bit better than this. So that's a bit confusing. Obviously, a diesel engine will produce more nitrous oxide and all those other nasty stuff, so I don't know. But yeah, so the diesel has more power, 130, this has 108. So if you're after more power and better fuel economy, maybe the diesel's the one for you. And the DCI and VVT, what do they mean? Well, the VVT stands for the VVT stands for variable valve timing, which is a bit like VTEC technology. I'm not quite sure what the difference is. If you know, please let me know in the comments. That'd be interesting. And the DCI stands for diesel something injection. Diesel common rail injection, that's what it means. So this is 150 newton meters of torque, which isn't loads for an engine this size, but you know, it's normally aspirated, doesn't have a turbo. But it's got 6 gears, so that's, you know, you can manage that lack of torque with the gears. Despite the 6 gears, it still struggles to do 40 miles per gallon on the motorway, which isn't very good. So if you're keen on the Renault Megane, of the Mark III Renault Megane, I would probably recommend getting a diesel engine if you're after better fuel economy on longer journeys. So what other fuel economy stats would you say, Seaway, for this car, from your experience?
What it says on there, that's my average, sort of like suburban plus urban MPG.
What is it? Oh, 30. Yeah. So the average, yeah, 30 mile per gallon at the moment.
My mileage is like quite a lot of motorways, quite a lot of cities, so it's about half and half on there.
Okay.
City driving, I'd say about anywhere from 25 to 30, depending on how heavy footed you are.
Yeah.
Motorway, cruising 70 to 75 is around 33, 34.
There you go, guys. There's my friend Seaway in the back. Oh, it's very soft round there. Very light. 360 on the roundabout there. I couldn't feel any loading of the wheel, the steering. It felt very light. So it was definitely good for maneuverability at lower speeds. And the power steering in this is friendly. It's helpful. It's not necessarily sporty. It definitely isn't a sporty car. But I think, yeah, if you're the sort of person that's going to buy this, you're probably maybe a young family that doesn't drive too much, or a person in their 20s who wants a hatchback but doesn't want anything sporty, but you know, would like the practicality and the room in the back. So this has cruise control. I'm not going to try it now because it's better on the motorway, but for obvious reason. But that's a handy feature to have, and that's quite a premium feature for a car that you could get for as little as £2,500 second hand. And that cruise control starts from 20 miles an hour, so you can use that in town as well if you're feeling particularly lazy. The steering feels quite floaty, but compared to the Clio I used to have, this Megane has a lot of it has stiffer suspension, but it's still fairly good over speed bumps, and it feels comfy and it feels refined. But yeah, it takes a few minutes to get used to the clutch because you know, like I said, I'm putting my knee all the way up here, and the gears are quite close together. But it's fairly easy to get used to. And this armrest in the middle is a nice plus. I think I'm going to have to put that into my Golf by an armrest because it's just something that's missing. But the mirrors are really good. They're a good size. They're like, and there's good visibility. The only thing I would say is the owner of this car has tinted the rear windows, so it doesn't have the best visibility out of the back. There you go. It's not that punchy, but when you need the power, it's there like a couple seconds later. Compared to the Mark II Megane, a lot of car journalists mentioned that the base Mark III Megane just feels a lot better to drive than the Mark II. So I can't say that, but from what I've read, motor journalists were impressed by the improvement in the driving feel of this car compared to the Mark II. So now I've spoken a little bit about driving this car. Now I'm going to tell you 5 things the owner loves about this car and 5 things they hate.
So the owner really likes the large digital display you get in the Megane. They also really like the secret compartments you can find under the driver and passenger seats, although I kind of wonder what they use them for. Anyway, they really like the keyless entry, and it's particularly handy as you don't even have to lock or unlock the car. It does it all itself. They even like how you can just double click the door handle once you've left the car, and if you've forgotten to turn down the windows, it does it all itself, just like that. And last but not least, they're a big fan of the soft suspension and the ride of the Megane, and particularly how it deals with speed bumps and potholes. So now a few things the owner really hates about the Megane. So number 1 is the soft boot lining that comes in the back. So this is constantly caving under weight, which isn't really ideal for a boot liner. I mean, yeah, Renault should have done better with that really. And as you can imagine, they're not a fan of the lack of cup holders. They've even bought some novelty cup holders to go onto the air vents, but as you can imagine, that's not really ideal. There should be good cup holders as standard with the car. This will make you laugh. Look how bloody awkward the dipstick is. I mean, that's just stupid. That's really, really stupid. That's I think whoever came up with the dipstick for this Megane is a dipstick. Now obviously they're not very happy with the poor fuel efficiency and rather low MPG. As you can imagine, that's probably draining their wallet and compromising their financial situation, so yeah, they're not too happy about that. And finally, we've already mentioned how the seats aren't very comfortable or supportive on longer journeys, but my friend has fairly broad shoulders and apparently, according to them, the seats aren't ideal for broad people, so bear that in mind.
So the verdict, what do we reckon? In terms of the features that come with this car for the price, I think it's good value for money. And in terms of practicality, I feel it's a good car to buy. The only problem is that it has really bad fuel efficiency, and I don't think I can give it a very generous score because of that. So my Motorthought score for the 2015 1.6 VVT dynamic 5-door TomTom car is 5, which isn't very good. It's the lowest score I've given. I've only ever given one other score, so I guess it doesn't really mean anything, but if we have to come up with a score for it, it's going to be 5. Yeah, it's the fuel efficiency that's preventing it from being a 6 or a 7, where it doesn't deserve any less than 5 because it does have some good features and it is fairly practical, and for value for money, like most Renaults, it's a good car in that sense. This is going to be part of my budget car series, so next in this series I'll be reviewing a VW Up, so stay tuned for that. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any thoughts on the car or the video, feel free to comment. I do read the comments, and I appreciate the time and effort many of you have taken to comment on my channel. So if you have any thoughts on the car or this video, please let me know. I'd appreciate that. Anyway, I've been James Drujon. You've been watching Motor Thoughts. Until next time, guys. Ciao.